On the first day of trying not to complain for 30 straight days, I failed within the first hour. I sat in traffic, muttered about how slow it was, and instantly realized, wait, that's a complaint. I spilled some coffee, cursed out loud, another complaint. By lunchtime, I had already lost count. That S, when it hit me, complaining wasn't something I did once in a while. It was my default language built into my day like breathing. And deciding to cut it out cold turkey felt like asking my brain to quit a lifelong addiction. The challenge sounded simple. Don't complain for 30 days. But what I didn't realize was how deeply wired complaining really is. Traffic, weather, work, people. Tiny annoyances. I had built up a reflex to comment negatively on almost everything. Without even realizing it, those small jabs had become the background soundtrack of my life. But when you commit to stop, suddenly you notice every single one of them. And it is shocking how constant they are. By the second day, I could see how complaints just slipped out in conversation as social glue. A coworker would grumble about being tired, and I'd chime in, yeah, me too. This job sucks sometimes, not because I meant it, but because it felt like the easiest way to connect. Take away those little heavy comments, and suddenly I didn't know what to say. Complaining had become my default bonding tool, and I realized just how much of our social life is built around negativity. The first week was like detox. Without the outlet of venting every small discomfort, I felt pressure build inside me, an urge to let it out, like I was holding back sneezes all day. That was uncomfortable. But slowly, I began noticing an incredible thing. The situation itself didn't change, but without instantly voicing a complaint, the irritation faded faster. It's like complaints kept feeding the fire. Stop feeding it, and the fire starts dying out on its own. By day 7, I noticed how different my mood was. Normally, mornings were a marathon of complaints. Too early, too dark, too cold, too much work. But resisting the instinct forced me to replace the script. Instead of, ugh, this traffic sucks, I'd just breathe. Instead of saying, I hate Mondays, I stayed quiet. And in that silence, I started having little neutral or even positive thoughts. My mornings weren't weighed down as heavily anymore. Psychology actually explains it clearly. Complaining frequently wires your brain into a state called negative bias. Neural pathways strengthen with repetition. The more you complain, the easier it becomes to find problems, until your brain scans the world like radar, looking for the next negative thing. But when you cut complaints, you literally start rewiring your brain. Slowly, you teach it to focus elsewhere. I didn't know the neurology on day 1, but by day 10, I could feel it. Something unexpected happened around the second week. Conversations changed. Without falling into the easy trap of complaining with others, I had to dig deeper. If someone said, God, today's weather sucks, instead of joining in, I'd steer it. Yeah, it's cold, but hey, good excuse for a big jacket. Small shift, but people reacted differently. Some rolled their eyes, but others smiled. My whole vibe around people lightened because I wasn't amplifying negativity. Around day 15, I faced the hardest test. Work stress peaked, deadlines, last-minute changes, everything clashing. Normally, I'd vent to anyone around, but bound by my no-complaint rule, I couldn't. So I tried something new. Instead of saying this project is impossible, I asked, how can I make this manageable? That single shift from complaint to problem-solving changed everything. My energy stopped leaking into moaning and went into action. Complaining blocks progress, reframing fuels it. By day 20, I could feel my mental health improving. Less complaining meant less negativity repeated out loud, which meant fewer spirals. Even my physical body felt lighter. Without constant reinforcement of stress, my shoulders unclenched more. My breathing rested deeper. Gratitude started sneaking into tiny gaps. Standing in line at a store didn't feel like torture, it felt like time to think. Spilled coffee no longer ruined my day, it was just an accident, and then gone. Somewhere in week 3, I noticed people around me shifting to a funny thing happens when you stop complaining. You become a mirror that doesn't feed negative energy back. At first, friends didn't know how to react. But after a while, some started reducing their complaints too, because suddenly they felt the contrast. And that taught me something profound. Removing complaints doesn't just change you, it changes the whole atmosphere around you. By day 25, my brain felt clearer than it had in years. Complaining had been noise cluttering every thought. Without it, silence returned. That silence made space for ideas, solutions, and gratitude I hadn't noticed before. Instead of ending the day drained by my own words of frustration, I ended lighter, calmer, and oddly proud. Every skipped complaint felt like a victory. Finally, day 30. By then, it was second nature. Complaints still rose in my head that will never disappear completely. But the difference was, they stopped owning me. I could notice the first spark of negativity, smile at it, and let it pass unspoken, and the ripple effect was undeniable. I felt calmer, lighter, and, most surprisingly, people seemed to enjoy being around me more. I was radiating less heaviness, more presence. So what really happened after 30 days of no complaining? My life didn't magically erase problems. Traffic still jammed, weather still changed, work still stressed. The outside world stayed the same. But my inside world transformed. My patience grew, my outlook brightened, my connections deepened. My brain, quite literally, learned not to chase the negative loop. In the end, eliminating complaints wasn't about ignoring reality. It was about reclaiming control over my words, and through them, my mindset. It reminded me that negativity feeds on expression, positivity feeds on attention, and I get to choose which to water. 30 days without complaining completely changed me. Because what you speak becomes what you see. The less you complain, the more life feels less like a burden and more like the gift it always was.